Hey everybody, welcome. You made it through the first presidential debate of 2024. Don't know how you're feeling at this point, but we're going to discuss some of the key takeaways here. Jason Wheeler here from Yolitics, the Texas political podcast. Jason Whiteley, my usual partner in crime, is here somewhere. He is in the building, but he's actually doing stuff for broadcast television, and then he's going to be joining us here in just a moment. We got Berna Steptoe, the political producer here at WFAA. We've got Jessica Huseman. I got it right this time.
You did. That was good.
Who is the executive director of Votebeat, which is a nonpartisan nonprofit that does true reporting, nuanced reporting on at the local level on elections. And we have Michael McCardel, the esteemed political producer here at WFAA as well, who is much of the magic behind Yolitics. If you can say that there's magic in Yolitics.
Hard work.
I think there is. Yeah, the hard work, the grunt work. I have brought beers. I grabbed a couple of six-packs because, if you're not familiar with Yolitics, search for it wherever you get your podcasts, and please subscribe to it because we're really diving deep into a lot of the issues that affect us here in Texas. We do this every single week, and we do it over a beer. It's a relaxed conversation where you actually get information, not just shouting back and forth. And so I have a couple of options for you guys. Actually, I told Jason Whiteley, because he always complains about me liking beers that have kind of a fruit in them, that I didn't do that today. And I just realized I got Paleta de Mango from Rahr & Sons in Fort Worth. I believe they're out of Fort Worth. We also have Necessary Evil from the Manhattan Project, which has hosted us for the podcast several times in Dallas. That's always a good one. Jessica, do I remember correctly that you like IPAs?
You do.
Wow.
Yes.
That is really good.
I am so flattered.
I never remember these kinds of things. I can barely remember how to pronounce your last name every single time we get together, and yet I remember this about you.
But you do remember my beer preference.
It tells you where my
really
priorities are.
the most important thing.
From Oak Highlands Brewery. So you're going to have the IPA?
I am.
What are you guys having?
Thank you.
Michael?
Necessary Evil.
Necessary Evil.
Please.
There you go.
Thank you.
Bernadine, are you doing this?
Just choose one. Do
Just
I have
choose
to open
one.
It?
Yeah, I'll open it for you. Boy, you are high maintenance. Is that in your rider for this?
So, you know what? What is an IPA?
It is a very hoppy. It's very bitter.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want that. Oh, that's
Yeah,
So
I didn't give you that.
I feel like
I gave
if you
you-
don't like beer, you probably wouldn't like it very much.
I give you Paleta de Mango, and it should be a good one. Cheers to you all, by the way, for having made it through, and you too, the first debate of the season.
Woo!
It was
Hopefully the
a tough one to get through.
Hopefully the last.
Can we just go down the line here? Because I'm curious. I mean, we were all taking notes as this was unfolding for what seemed like 2 hours to me. It was 90 minutes or a little bit more than 90 minutes. It felt like a really long debate. What are the takeaways from tonight for each one of you? Bernadine?
I think that those who were concerned about President Biden's faculties and mental state are still concerned.
Yeah.
And I think that those who think that Trump does well, they still think he does well. I don't think anything changed in that respect, but I think that Biden did not step up to what he needed to do in terms of making people more comfortable. But also, keep in mind, the expectation was so low. The expectations for him performing well was so low that he just met those low expectations.
Yeah, it seemed like the Trump campaign was really trying to walk back those expectations that they had set for Joe Biden, for President Biden, for some time now, where they've called him Sleepy Joe. He has no energy. He can't remember anything. He can't string a sentence together. And in these last couple of weeks, we've been hearing them say, "You watch. He's going to be juiced up on something. He's a good debater. He's ready to go. He's going to have energy." It's almost like they were trying to raise the expectations on him so that he might miss those expectations. It seemed, at least that's what a lot of people were thinking. Tonight, though, President Biden, in the very beginning, especially, did come out, and there was a lot being said on social media about, where was he looking? What was he thinking? What was your takeaway, Jessica?
Well, I think you're right. I think that if you have questions or concerns about his ability to lead the office, given his age, you are still dealing with those, right? He really missed an opportunity, I think, to address that with a real showing. And I know that there was also some talk on the internet about how he had a cold, and some news organizations had confirmed that, and I hear that, but I think that the real question on a lot of people's minds tonight was the age of both candidates. And if you just look at the performance of both men, Trump did seem a lot more energetic. And I think that if you're a low information voter who is watching that debate, and God bless you if you made it through the whole thing, you know, you may have the impression that one was able to address the concerns a lot more clearly, even if you were listening carefully, or if you were following this stuff closely for the last 4 years, you know that a lot of what Trump said tonight was not true at all. But I don't know that moves a lot of people.
Yeah, well, so this could have been a fact checker's dream or nightmare, depending on how you look at it. If indeed, you know, as you say, former President Trump was saying things that were over the top or that weren't on the mark, there wasn't that substantial, specific pushback from President Biden on a lot of those points. And so, as you said, if you were a low information voter, you might have heard that forceful presentation from the former president and thought, well, okay, well, that's true. And then President Biden didn't correct it.
But Jason, he did. He did a lot of correcting. It appeared as if he was on the defensive, but he was addressing the untruths that former President Trump was doing, but he just wasn't doing it in a forceful manner.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And you know, this takes us back to 2016 as well, when Hillary Clinton said that you don't understand it unless you're out there, and he floods the zone. There's so many things to respond to that it's almost like you lose track of all of the things that you're trying to pull back in and fact check and do in real time and still get your message out. Michael, what was your takeaway?
Two things stood out to me. First off, there's this talk about the voters who are called double haters.
Yeah.
They don't like either candidate.
Who did they like better tonight?
Well, that's my
Neither one
question.
of them.
ABC said it's 21% of the voters, right?
Yeah.
Double haters.
That's a
I'm
fair
not
amount
sure.
of people.
Yeah, quarter, right? So I don't think that they came away happy with either candidate, to be honest. From the beginning, talking about President Biden's faculty, you know, he stumbled within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Didn't speak for several seconds. It was pretty dramatic.
Yeah, he was trying to recall something, seemed to get caught on it, and then ended a sentence saying something like, "We beat Medicare. We beat Medicare."
But
I
you
don't.
all remember he stutters.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was more profound tonight.
The
Because
voice
he-
thing didn't help him either.
No. Not at all.
No.
And
And
from
then
the
I
beginning.
kept wondering, why not give him water? Was that not part of the?
I imagine he
not
could have
do
had
that?
it. Or how about one of the, mentholyptus or eucalyptus, whatever it is that you can, because, again, the reporting is that he has a cold, but again, it's all optics, right? So this goes all the way back to Kennedy-Nixon. When you had this debate and one looks a certain way on TV and the other looks a certain way on TV, and people get an impression from that. If you were coming into tonight's debate, you got the sense that if somebody was worried about Biden's age, worried about the president's age, that voice didn't help. I did want to bring up that Politico had put out a headline just a little while ago, and it said that the title is "Biden is Toast. Democratic insiders already freaking out over his hoarse voice and shaky debate performance."
From the get-go.
This was a big audience tonight too. This, the conjecture going in was that this might be the biggest television audience for a debate in history. And as you say, there are a lot of voters. You think everybody's made up their mind by now? What do you not know about Donald Trump and Joe Biden? I mean, both of them have held the presidency. You know their records. They've been around a long time. So you're going to be exposed to some people, though, who still could be, pushed one way or the other. That didn't help him.
No, I don't think it did help him, and I think that there's a really big portion of Joe Biden supporters that are upset by this conversation, right? That think that we shouldn't be having this conversation about the age, that we should be directing conversations in entirely different directions when those things come on. But I think that it is a fair thing to note that a lot of Americans are concerned about both candidates' age, right? And of the two, I think that there is one whose age was a problem for them tonight. I mean, whether it was because of his age or because of the cold or the stud. I mean, there were a lot of things that it could have been, and I'm not necessarily blaming it on his age, but I think that he did have a long way to come with voters, and he didn't get very far.
Yeah,
at
I will
all.
say that the one way to get rid of people talking about age is to come out and show forcefully
Right.
that you're here, you're in it, you have the recall, you're able to match someone tit for tat there. The president though did did recall a lot of specifics during this debate.
Well, he did better. But see, remember the first out.
Yeah.
You have to have an excellent showing out the gate. And he didn't, because he did get better during the debate. But by then he had lost the audience.
Now, there are some who would say, though, Jessica, you referred to, a lot of things that were coming out that were very over the top, a lot of superlatives from former President Trump, which is, the way he speaks as well. And there are people who would say, well, that makes me question mental fitness as well. We've heard that complaint about him, that, everybody focuses on President Biden's mental fitness, but, people who say, everything you say is over the top and superlatives, and I can't believe what you say, that makes me question your mental fitness. So there's that criticism as well. It's almost like it goes to both camps.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I think that the difference here is that, Trump has been lying that much every time he opens his mouth since before he ran for president in 2016, right? So you sort of expect that performance from him. You expect him to sort of be enthusiastically lying to you. But you don't necessarily expect what you saw from Biden tonight from Biden. This is a much different performance than we saw of him 4 years ago. I don't think that it was very different for Trump, right? He's following the rules because he can be muted now, but aside from that, his energy level was the same and the amount of lies he was telling are the same. And so if we've got the debate from 4 years ago and this debate to compare it to, you saw a much more energetic and motivated Biden, I think, in 2020 than you did
Well,
this
heck,
time
even
around.
in the
go back to the
State of the Union, this
Absolutely.
year.
A lot different.
Well, here's another good thing about this debate. A very, very excellent thing. It's
What is that?
It's early.
Early, yeah, that's
See,
true.
That's why they asked for it so soon, not only for the early voting states, but I doubt there will be another debate.
So you don't think the September one
I don't think the
happens?
September is happening. If it does, Biden needs to fire his campaign people, because I don't see it. Well, he might not have a cold then. If he actually wants to blame it on the cold for the poor performance, and it actually was a poor performance, then he won't be sick in September.
So you don't think that there's going to be a second debate, though?
I don't think. Why would there? Nothing changed out of this. It just showed their candidates in a worse light. It showed Trump more lying. So I don't think that he changed any votes. And Biden definitely did not change or bring any over. I think that it's so early, he has time to make up. He has the time to make up.
And Biden, part of the problem is there are people who backed him in 2020 are now a bit skeptical, and so he had to win them over, and he didn't do that either. So it's double haters and the people who sort of backed away from him a little bit, and he didn't help his cause at all. I
don't believe that many people have backed away from Biden. I think that you hear the narrative, okay, I don't like him or whatever, but I don't like Trump. But when they go to that, they're not going to vote for Trump. So
but what if
his
they don't
problem
also
is,
vote for Biden?
No,
They
that's
don't
what I was
go
getting ready
vote
to say.
at all, yeah.
His problem is turnout.
Yeah, energizing
See,
voters.
that is Biden's problem today, and that will be his problem in November. Getting his people to the polls, not them voting for Trump. They're not going to vote for former President Trump. They're just not going to do it.
Well, that was his problem in 2020 as well, and he managed to get it done. So the question is now, can you inspire voters to get to the polls? Same thing for former President Trump, though. Can you inspire? I mean, we've seen, as the primary season, finally went out with a whimper, there were still, even long after Nikki Haley stepped out of that race, there were still quite a few people in some of these states voting for her over Donald Trump in the Republican primaries. And so can he energize people to get to the polls, too? One thing that I took away from this is we just went through the primary here in Texas, and if you watch the Republican primaries, there was one thing that they talked about over and over and over and over again, and that was the border and immigration. And tonight, it was very clear where the Trump campaign is headed. You heard some stuff about inflation, yes. You heard some stuff about the military and about, overseas interventions and so forth. You heard some stuff about that, but over and over, he brought up the border and immigration. It's very clear where the Trump campaign is
Let
going.
me tell you, and I hate to monopolize the conversation, but I just, what really, 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 I stood up is this old line that they're taking your jobs away. So now they're telling black people, okay, the immigrants are coming over, now they're taking your jobs away. You don't have jobs. They used to tell the lower income whites, the blacks are taking your jobs. Now they're telling the blacks, the immigrants are taking your job. And that's going to be a line.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not we believe it, I still don't think you're going to have a significant number of blacks who are going to vote for Trump. But as I say again, Biden's problem is going to be getting his voters to the polls.
And at one point, the former president referred to black jobs, and that was trending on Twitter for a while, where people didn't, I guess, feel that phrase, black jobs.
It's so racist. I mean, it takes us back to those. Well, I'm like, no, he didn't say that. Well, it's just like when he said that blacks are going to vote for me because they liked my mugshot. They relate. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But anyway, I'll get quiet.
At one point, it seems like we covered the gamut in this debate. We went all the way from World War III to a really extended, surprisingly extended conversation about golf.
Did you handicaps.
Oh my God!
Did that happen?
That was the moment in the debate where I most wanted to be fired into the sun. I was just.
Well, and that's also where they were supposed to be defending their age, right?
Yes.
And how they'll be a good president.
That doesn't help.
So I brought my handicap down.
Yeah.
Right.
That didn't help either one of them.
Because the youth of America, that's really the chief concern.
Yeah, I don't recall that on any lists of voter concerns. What is your golf handicap? And it went on, and finally the moderators awkwardly sort of stepped in and said, I think we need to move on. I think they were stunned by it too, just how long this was going back and forth talking about
going
golf.
at each other over it.
What happened there? I will say, and I want to find out from you guys what you thought about this. I don't know what you at home thought. The format of this, I kind of liked it in a way because there was no crowd to help out either candidate, first of all. There was no crowd to drown out either candidate or to buoy someone and kind of help them through if they were having difficulty. And it really gave you a window into the candidate who's speaking. And it seems like, and I love this whole idea of just chopping the microphone, and so that you can hear the person who's actually talking, and the other person can talk, when they got time again, but you can hear them one at a time.
I believe that the debate format was the winner tonight. And so I had a bunch of friends texting me. We were on WhatsApp, and so they were talking about some of their quotes that this is the best run debate, I can't remember how long. No audience, is better than I thought. Because it allowed them to form their own opinion and they had to answer it and they weren't reacting to anyone. The best time management ever in this debate, kind of refreshing. And they kept reminding the candidates over and over. They'd stop short. Well, you have 67 seconds left and here's the question we asked.
Right.
And pushed them. So,
would you like to answer it now?
Right.
Yeah, since you still have time.
Yeah, so that probably ends up being the big winner. I thought it worked out well and we heard from both. They had good time and I think they managed it. But the mic muting, I thought worked well.
Can I talk?
We're going to cut Michael's microphone now so that you can say something, Bernadine.
Because you know what? Everything that you've said, I agree with, the exception of, I think the format, while it was very well managed, and you gave everybody the opportunity, I think it helped make it more boring.
Yeah.
Because you didn't.
You were bored like 20 minutes in.
Oh God, you were so bored because you didn't have Trump talking over and talking crazy. And did he just say that? You didn't have Biden doing the same thing. But I think that in terms of management, and I do totally agree that it is the winner tonight. But I think that it helped to add to the board. And
that's a problem, I think, for both candidates because they had a perfect opportunity to sort of explain where they do. You notice if you follow, former President Trump didn't answer many of the questions. And so this would have been a good opportunity for that. Again, for the double haters, you're trying to get people over. And they just didn't, use the format to their benefit, either candidate, I don't think. And I think it could have helped them a great deal had they done that.
It seems like, though, and Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong here, it seems like going into this debate, it seems like the big, I guess I would say goal for each of these is on the President Biden side. I'm sure that his team was telling him, hey, we need to not give this perception about, you're too old or any of that. We need you to go out there and be forceful and not fall into the memes that are going to pop up online, which they have tonight already, at least on X anyway. And I would say that the goal from the Trump team was to say, hey, get out there, have a strong performance, don't go over the top like we saw in 2020. That debate didn't do him a lot of good there. Don't you think that the format of this, where he knew the microphone was going to be cut, they're far apart, you're going to get time in just a moment, it almost helped him to quote unquote behave. I was just talking to Senator Cruz yesterday, and he was saying, I think that's what he's got to do here. He's got to just not, be over the top or unhinged, as the Biden administration has been calling him. And he said, I don't know if he can do it or if he's going to do it, but it seems like the format almost sort of confined you to that.
I mean, you had to, right? It was, you were muted when you weren't talking, or when you weren't talking when it wasn't your time. So there was no opportunity for him to interrupt like we saw him do in 2020. They were stuck behind the podium 8 feet apart, so he couldn't sort of like stalk Biden around the stage like we saw him do with Hillary Clinton in 2016.
Very awkward.
And so I think, when you have a structure that regimented, you don't have any choice but to behave like an adult.
Yeah.
But he tried.
Yeah.
Because you saw his mouth moving. So
I saw that a few times with
Yes.
Biden as well,
Yes,
trying to get something
both
in,
of
and they were like, next question.
No, thank
We're
you.
Moving
Yeah.
on. Look what the cat dragged in. Speaking of,
Hello.
and when I say look what the cat dragged in, did you guys catch it was almost hard to hear and understand, but he told him, I wrote it down because President Biden told former President Trump that he had the morals of an alley cat. I'd never heard that phrase.
That was the only new element that I heard tonight. Was there anything else that was new besides that? I mean, everything else was
I think that was it.
Killing babies after they're born.
Well,
that was new too.
I
Killing
think that,
babies after they're born.
yes, there was that too, and they went back and forth on that one. There was also immaculate water.
You know what? And let me
President
just
Trump saying he wanted immaculate water. Do you want? First of all, you want a beer?
Yeah, let me pause the conversation to discuss how my prediction was correct that Wheeler would get a fruity beer tonight. He would come back with one.
And I even
predicted
said
about 4 hours ago.
And I even said no, I didn't. And then I realized when I opened them that actually, in fact, I had done that. We've got Paleta de Mango from Rar and Sons. We've got Necessary Evil from the Manhattan Project, and we've got Derelict West Coast IPA from Oak Highlands Brewery. I know which one you're going to have.
It's too late for an IPA.
I know you
back
too
up
well.
at 5 a.m.
Can you tell I used to bartend the way I slid that down to you?
Well, they tend. I mean, yeah, it's 0.7% stronger than these. Then.
So you've been downstairs, Jason,
Yes.
and you've been doing stuff for broadcast television since a lot of our viewers have been watching us here and may not even be in Dallas-Fort Worth, but in other places. What did you, when you put it all together tonight and you've got to boil all of that 90 minutes down to about 90 seconds, what did you say? What was the thrust?
It turned out exactly the way everyone thought it was going to turn out. People know Trump. People thought, and many Democrats worried, that Biden would come out and look the way he did tonight, and it turned out just like that. Biden stumbled at 11 minutes into the whole thing there, and I guarantee you that had a lot of people cringing. There's a friend of mine in D.C. who was cringing when he saw that. He works in the administration. They were cringing when they actually watched that. Again, we discussed that we didn't hear really much new from either candidate, Donald Trump especially. He did say that he would not ban the abortion pill, mifepristone. Now, every candidate makes claims. That I thought that was interesting when asked about that. Mm-hmm. He dodged almost everything else that he was asked tonight. I thought the most egregious one that Donald Trump dodged was about January 6th. Mm-hmm. He had nothing to do with it. He was completely innocent. And then he said it was
Nancy Pelosi.
He played a role, and he finally blamed it on Pelosi.
Well, he said Pelosi said that she should have been more involved. I think he blamed it on the mayor or somebody else. He blamed
Yeah,
it on someone else.
and he went through. It took him, I think, 3 questions to get that far into it. Though, at the end of the day, though, I mean, if you're a Republican, you've got to be excited about what you saw tonight. And if you're a Democrat, I'm sure you're worried to death about what you saw tonight. There's no other way around it.
Going back to some of the claims that were made, and we were talking about this being either a fact checker's dream or a nightmare, depending on how you look at it. We have a Verify team that has been trying in real time throughout the evening to actually go and fact check some of these things that were said and to kind of give context to them. A lot of the things that, and they did this with both candidates, a lot of the things that they looked into, they determined needs context, and that was the label that they put on it, and they actually put what their sources were to find the information. One of the things that they got into, they said misleading on that one. Some of them were true. The only one so far, anyway, and no doubt they've got kind of a backlog still, that they called false, was the one that you were just talking about there a moment ago, Bernadine. The Trump claim that Democrat-run states allow after-birth abortions. The Verify team put sources out for this and said that is in fact false, that Democrat-run states do not allow after-birth abortions. Killing a child after birth or infanticide is illegal in all 50 states.
And murder.
It's that's murder, pure and simple.
Yeah.
I mean, if people watching this sat through the 90-minute debate or the 100-minute debate, however long it was, it devolved so quickly and ended up talking about golf and their handicaps.
We talked about that.
Are you kidding me?
And went for a long time.
I'm just thinking about we like to travel. You just got back from Slovenia. How concerned are you tonight if you're watching this in Europe and you see what's happening in Ukraine?
Right.
How concerned are you if with the questions that are happening in the United States?
How thrilled are you if you're sitting in
the Kremlin
tonight,
Yeah.
or in China as the leader there,
It's-
and you're a major power and you're in competition with the U.S. How thrilled are you to see it devolve into a golf swing debate?
Yeah, it was shocking. Go ahead, Jessica.
No, I was just going to say it was shocking. It was really shocking. I think that, something that you hear journalists and commentators, many of whom are not in touch with the American public in any way, say all the time is both of these people need to show the American public that they are in touch with the issues of your average American. And I am really struggling to remember even one meaningful thing that came out of tonight's debate that I think your average American can sit down with and really think about as okay, here's something I didn't know about these two people before tonight, and here's how it will affect my vote. It was the biggest slow deflating balloon sound. I don't.
If Biden has any win at all tonight, it's that this happened at the end of June.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of time until we get closer to the September debate, which is 6 weeks out from the
Bernadine
election.
doesn't think that's going to happen.
You think they're going to put this big in?
You can't. I mean, again, I'm not on either campaign, but if I'm with any campaign, there's no way I would let this stand as the final thing for Biden. I would change the way I prep him or anything else. If you're Biden's campaign, there's no way this would stand.
But see, Jason, keep in mind, if you have $20 million, you can turn a narrative. But if
TV ads or something like that.
there is no guarantee, because now they say that he had a cold, which we'll accept that. But there's no guarantee he's going to come out any different.
Oh, 100%.
So why put him back out there? Now I think
Why not would be my argument to that. Now I always admit it. Bernadine's a lot smarter of a political mind than I am, and she's probably right at the end of the day. But I just think if I'm Biden's team, there is no way I would let this be his last debate. Biden was on the Trump had Biden on the defensive the entire time. Mm-hmm. Never mind how Biden looked. Mm-hmm. He was on the defensive the entire time, and there was rarely any talk about the future.
Yeah.
This was all talk about the
no
past.
policy.
Yeah.
But
This was
we
nothing
didn't-
about
we
the
didn't-
next 4 years. This was
we
the
didn't
last
expect
4 and the
that.
last 8
No,
years.
Yeah.
we didn't
It's what this
expect that.
was.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. If I'm one of these independent voters trying to decide which guy do I like the least here, which guy do I like the most here, What am I going home with? I know all this stuff. This stuff's history. What are you going to do for me the next 4 years?
I think a lot of them are trying to decide which of these guys they dislike the least or dislike the most. It is interesting, though. You talk about if you were on Biden's team, you wouldn't let this be the last debate. Would you if you were on Trump's team? Would you say, let's pull out of the next one?
Absolutely not. Trump owned this debate tonight. No,
Well,
you can.
come on now.
No, I'm not talking
Remember
about factually.
I know.
I'm not talking about
but
factually.
But keep in mind,
He controlled the conversation the entire time. He pivoted off of every question to get back to his talking points. He clearly owned this.
And he
debate.
made every
Well, but
claim
he-
he
but
wanted to,
he
most
said
of
everything
them unchecked.
100%.
Well, but see,
Wild
here-
assertions.
Here's what the whole debate is about. Do you change minds?
Right.
Because he needs to pull over more independents, those Republicans who are shy, who don't want to vote for him. Did he do that?
Do you think
Not
he
that
did?
Of course not, because he was Trump. He didn't talk about anything that he's going to do for them. He did not change Trump. So Biden is left with this, as we talked about earlier,
I missed that.
with Democrats saying, okay, well, is he capable? Then he was left with the same Republicans not wanting. You saw the same same Republican, same Trump, and then he was no.
Well, let me
So
ask. Let me
now,
ask you
I
this.
do say this. I will say this, that if you're going to talk about merely winners or losers, I think Trump won in the sense that he seemed more in control of himself. Not necessarily in control of what was going on, because he was in control. The format of the debate controlled the debate now. It controlled him.
What does the overnight polling show on this? And does any of this make a blip in the minds of the independent voters, you think?
I thought you were going to say something else.
I know. I threw you a curveball there, Berna. Get ready.
You know what, Jason? It's two. Okay, these are going to be instant polling.
Yeah, sure.
Which
Yeah.
are not always
Right.
accurate. So you don't know, and I think that we would have to wait a little down the road.
I don't
see
think,
if
it's going to be the instant overnight polling that matters on this. I think
Yeah,
it's going to be the 3 and 4 and 5 and 8 days from now, when you still will see, and mark my words on this, you're still going to see over and over again these memes with the moment that President Biden was having the issue recalling something and then, said something about breaking Medicare. He wasn't putting his words together in that statement. And I think you're going to see things like that over and over again on the internet.
I think that debates are very rarely, something really catastrophic has to happen at a debate to really swing people on either side. But I think that the thing that debates provide us with are fodder for advertisements.
Yeah.
And for us.
And for
And for
us,
us.
and for
That's
yeah,
what I thought
and
you were
it
getting
gives
at.
it gives us
For us
an
to sit there and
opportunity
talk.
to sit before you and drink these beers. But I think that they provide really good clips for radio and television advertising, and I don't think that either man had a home run moment. There was no one sentence that either of them said that was so amazing that it was going to be a positive clip going forward for weeks and weeks. But goodness, they both gave each other's campaigns a lot of firepower, and I think that the most visually striking firepower was given to Trump from Biden, and in this specific instance.
But if the Biden campaign used it wisely, I would do a comparison. I still go back to former President Trump talking about blacks taking jobs. I would show that how the Republicans blame blacks for taking jobs from whites, and now you have saying that the Hispanics or the immigrants are taking jobs from blacks. How racist is that? See, I think that they can use a lot of things, both camps. It's just are the campaigns savvy enough? And I think they are.
Oh, I think they're savvy. I think they have the money to do it.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
but who gets more money coming in after tonight? Who enthused the donor class out after tonight to get more of that money to cut more of
I
those
think
ads?
both of them.
Yeah, you
think
I
so?
think both of them. Yes, because keep in mind, Trump was Trump. The people who did not like
And
Trump.
Biden was Biden.
And then, okay, the Trump people are going to want to defeat and highlight what Biden did in corruption.
Sure.
And the Biden people are going to do the same thing. You're going to get money on both sides. Remember, this is early.
Yeah. That's
This
the
is
thing.
early.
We like to get carried away, but we're 132 days away
Yes.
from, we'll be sitting in these same chairs on election night in 132 days, November the 6th, having the same conversation.
But you mentioned where we are right now, and I think that that's salient in another way, and that is that a lot of people are on vacation right now. A lot of people are tuned out. They're not paying attention. They didn't watch this debate. And that's why I'm saying that I think that what you will see on the internet for the next week to come is especially important. That might be, for a lot of people, their only takeaways from this debate. They won't see the strong moments from candidate X or Y. They're going to see the little clips that were made from candidate X or Y, and they'll develop a perception based upon that. So I think that it's even more significant in this case because it's so early and people aren't totally tuned in yet.
But will it reinforce the already preconceived ideas, or is it going to, are any of those memes or clips going to actually hit anybody new?
Right.
I'm not sure that they are.
Right, but is it enough though to make somebody think, well, I was going to hold my nose and vote for him or for him, but maybe I'll just not even bother now.
Maybe I won't go vote.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that's the
that's
problem.
I think that's the danger
That's
for
going
either
to be
one of
the
them.
danger.
That's the danger for both of them.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely, for
going to
both
be the
campaigns.
danger.
What do you think? We talked a lot about the format of this debate. Let's talk about the moderators here, because something that I noticed tonight that we haven't, in past debates, it seems like we saw the moderator doing fact checking. So if false claims were being made, they might say, well, wait a minute there, former President Trump, you're saying that there were abortions performed after birth. Just to be clear, blah, 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 blah. You would hear that. We didn't see that tonight.
Yeah, and it could all be in the rules that,
Right.
that both sides agreed to. That, hey, I get my 2 minutes to respond. You don't interrupt me. I get to say what I want to say, whether I want to answer the question or not. I don't know if that was in the negotiations or not.
Is that a win for voters, though, to hear it that way?
Absolutely not.
But the other way around, though, is a no-win for members of the media, because even if you're fact checking and you're saying a fact, you're seen, even if you do it with both of them, you're seen as taking a side or being confrontational.
The other thing I would like to have seen tonight from the moderators, Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, is following these up, not waiting until that 2 minutes is up. Just let's get back to the question I asked you about November the 6th.
Yeah.
Or about the abortion pill, or about Ukraine. Make sure I understand yes or no. Where are you in this?
Right.
You can say yes and then pivot off and get to something.
Right, I get that your golf
And they
game is
didn't do
great,
that a lot.
but I would like to
Yeah.
get the answer. Yeah, and then we can, let you have extra time.
And Biden takes. I'm sorry, Jessica.
No,
I know you have
that's
something to
good.
say.
That's fine.
Biden
We're gonna
takes
cut
the
your
debate.
mic, it's okay.
I know, at some point, just shut me up. But Biden takes the bait about the golf game. Are you kidding me?
And then it was Trump who came back and said, "Let's not be children."
I mean,
and then
yes.
Biden shoots back, "You are a child."
I'm telling you.
Yes, it was. I mean, it was a mess, I think, from start to finish. And I think the moderators did as much as they could have. I think trying to fact check
You'd never get
live
anywhere.
during it, you would never get anywhere, right? And unless you're willing to interrupt the candidates repeatedly to get them back on track, that would be a very frustrating debate to watch, because I think that we have all seen your, intrepid, brave broadcast journalist interviewing Donald J. Trump trying to do those things. And it becomes impossible, and they just give up because a conversation can't even move forward,
Well, you
right?
did-
Nothing happens.
You did see both of them call each other a liar during the night,
She
but
did.
over and over again, you saw President Biden say, everything you just said was a lie, or those are just all lies. And I was curious, did his team, you almost want to develop a tagline, a through line in a debate, and if that's what they thought was going to happen coming in, knowing, how Trump speaks, why didn't they go with something like what Reagan did, the "there he goes again" with Carter in '80? That was a tagline that came out of that debate, and it was effective. People remembered "there he goes again," telling
Was that
you.
Carter
blah,
in
blah,
80 or
blah.
Mondale in 84?
No, that was
Carter?
Reagan and Carter. Oh, no, you're right. It was Mondale.
I'm fact
I think
checking.
so.
Live fact checking. You guys get
Who knew that this was gonna happen?
You get this when you watch these live streams of Y'all-itics. Doesn't always happen. The tape versions.
Yeah, we usually cut out my mess ups. Yeah,
And then
it's
I think
substantial
that
too.
if you've been watching news enough or watching Trump, fact checking isn't necessary because you know he's lying.
Yeah, well, it's like
You
like
know the
Jessica
truth.
said, it's
And
impossible
then-
to do.
It's impossible. It's
And then
impossible to do.
Yeah.
You know that he's claimed responsibility for for January 6th, and now it's not my fault.
Oh, wait, real quick here. It was the 1980 debate with
See,
Carter.
This is how Wheeler is.
Just saying.
This is how Wheeler is.
Just saying.
Wheeler
that's all.
holds more grudges. And if he found that in the middle of the night, he would have texted me at 4 a.m. said, by the
Totally
way,
would.
here's the link.
Actually,
to
I
it."
would text you twice right
Yeah.
after each other, so it would definitely ring
And
through.
then call.
So he
That's
thinks
classic
it's not
Wheeler.
really
Classic
the
Wheeler.
case.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
No, that's funny.
We'll put you up there with Jake Tapper next.
We need to have you on the side.
Just
of
give me my laptop. Let me have the laptop while I'm there.
That's good. I think that there is a second debate, and there was talk about whether there might be a third debate. There's no way there's a
Oh,
third
God.
debate. There's absolutely no
Well.
way.
No.
I'm not a bettor, so I wouldn't bet on it. But
A second debate?
that's if they put Biden back out there, and because they'll put Trump, because Trump will just get out there. He's a performer. He will perform and he will tell untruths. I won't even call him a liar. He'll just tell untruths. So they're subject to put him back, but I wouldn't put Biden back.
It's a tough call, right? I think that, I don't think that Trump loses or gains anything because I think he's very likely to perform, given these debate rules, the exact same in September or October or whenever we do this again, right? He's likely to do exactly the same. Like Biden can only do better than what he did tonight. And I feel really discouraging now that I'm saying that out loud, but I've said it, so we'll just stick with that. I think that is true. I he's really got nowhere to go but up. And so if they put him on the debate stage the second time and he has another performance like this tonight, that could be really quite
I'm
bad.
telling you, the risk, I wouldn't take the risk.
Well, let's talk about the other thing in the Republican media sphere, and that is, you may have already discussed this, but that is the talk that, the Democrats are going to replace Biden before they get to the convention in Chicago in August, or they're going to do it at the convention. I say there's absolutely no way.
It's really hard to do.
The Democrats do that. There's absolutely no way they do that.
Yeah, really hard to do, number one. The money issue, because the campaign has raised this money up to now, you'd have to have somebody else who starts, as I understand it anyway, and start raising all of their own money, and that's pretty late in the game to do that. And then on top of that, who would be the person to step in who has the name recognition and the ability to put together a campaign that quickly? So no,
I think Gavin Newsom's the only Democrat that could.
Yeah, and there he
potentially
was
get close.
he was in the spin room tonight.
And you know what? They said this, the pundits said the same thing about Biden when he was running for president.
Yeah.
And then when he won, what was the narrative? He was the man of the hour. We won't know if Biden loses until Biden loses. And then we talk about Super Tuesday. Remember Super Tuesday when he was losing? And he came out
4
of
years
Super
ago in
Tu-
2020.
When he came out of Super Tuesday.
He finished fifth in Iowa.
And won president.
Yeah.
Well, and I will
So-
say that in that campaign, as you remember, those debates, and there were lots of them because the field was so large, in those first several debates, he was missing a step. He was behind, he wasn't responding, he wasn't fact-checking, he didn't hold his own. And then suddenly, as people started to coalesce a little bit and it got some momentum, you saw an invigoration in the candidate and the campaign.
I think you saw that tonight, though. I think you saw
As it
Biden
went.
get his footing.
Yes.
As it went.
As it went,
Yeah.
but were people still tuned in by
Sure,
then?
right.
Bernadine was bored. I said 20 minutes in. It was like 2 minutes in. She was like, "Okay, is this almost over?"
Oh, my goodness.
And
Because-
so did people stick around to see him get his footing, to get his comfort level?
You have to have a good showing out the gate.
And you have to have a cough drop. If you have trouble with your voice, you have to have.
But you know what? I blame the moderators. They saw he was struggling.
Why would you blame the moderators?
Because you offer water or something.
He had to have water under his.
He should have. But I
Listen,
mean,
he's the president of the United States. He has a staff of doctors and an ambulance that follows him around wherever he goes. It drives behind him.
Jason, come on.
It drives behind him. If you're on his staff of 15 people trying to get him ready for the
How many
debate,
interviews-
you ask the doctor to come over and give you a steroid shot to get you across the
Yeah,
line.
to get
How
your-
many interviews do you do because I'm standing right over there and someone starts coughing or get caught in their throat. Do you need some water? I mean, off the bat. Now, Jason Wiley, you know.
No, yeah, but those are taped in.
Well, but so if you could have a steroid then to get your
Just a
voice
steroid
back,
shot, and that's
wouldn't you
common.
have done that for this debate if people are
Did they
concerned
do it?
about your age? Yeah, true. Did they do it?
I mean,
And it just didn't.
common courtesy.
Well, I mean, you know, I think that certainly one of the things that Trump claimed at the beginning of this, which was that he was going to be on performance-enhancing drugs,
Yeah.
that will not be something
Sure.
that we continue to talk about after today. So
Right.
there's like one little silver lining
Right.
that like that crazy thing will no longer be happening. But
that's it.
but
was a-
I think it was an interesting and painful evening.
There was a point when, and this wasn't that moment when Biden had the recall issue, but there was a point when he said something and they went to former President Trump and he says, I have no idea what he just said
I
at
don't
the end of
think
that
he
sentence,
does
and I don't
either.
think he does either. But then, you know, there were counter punches that eventually came from President Biden, where especially that part about where he was, going with that claim that former President Trump called dead service members losers and suckers, and he pointed at him and said, "You're the loser and you're the sucker." That was
Several strong moments there. He started talking about his son.
yeah.
His older son who died, Beau Biden. But he got his footing, but it was a bad night for Joe Biden.
It was too late.
It was, I think,
late.
too late.
That's the way to say it. I think it was too late when, early on in that.
But hey.
Michael, do you
what
have any
did
other
they
closing
say?
thoughts?
What is gone?
Would you like to make a closing statement, Michael McCardel?
There's always tomorrow.
There's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is that what it said?
We're still going to be inundated with ads for the next, 3 months?
Yes.
4 months.
No, all I would ask is, we're all up
Stand
here
right
talking
here.
about
Stand
this.
right here. Hold on, what's the matter with you? Come on.
Would you like a
amateur.
paleta de mango?
No, thanks. But we're sitting up here talking about all of this, and there were a lot of substantive issues tonight that they wanted to ask about that we didn't get answers to.
Yeah.
Climate. Trump said, I want clean water and, clean air.
Immaculate water.
Right. So that's what we, child care, the cost of child care. How are you going to bring that down? We don't know. We don't know what they're going to
Rent,
do.
housing.
All of that. So all of these big issues, it was a missed opportunity. We still don't know how this country's going to move forward over the next 4 years.
Which makes you question, are debates useful? What are they useful for?
I think they are increasingly less useful than they used to be, and to your point, Michael, like I think, and I know that I cover voting, and so I am biased in this way, but the conversation or the lack of conversation around democratic process and January 6th and the sort of like flub of an answer that Trump gave to January 6th was so shameful. I mean, the immediate attempt to pivot that to, oh, well, Joe Biden is awful and January 6th was, don't worry about it. Like, let's talk about before January 6th and what he's done in the time since. Like, that was, I think, very shameful. And I think that this debate was a really interesting opportunity for him to sort of be held to account for that, not only by the moderators, but also by Joe Biden in a way that I don't really think Joe Biden landed. And if you're going to be prepared for one thing,
That's your punch.
that's the thing, right?
That's your punch.
Yeah.
But he did. I'm telling you, his responses were so low key.
Yeah. That's the problem, though. That's your haymaker.
Right, exactly.
Because he responded. Because I know you kept saying he's on the defensive. No, he was responding. It was just like it was as if though he was, he was just
a good
getting beat
point.
up. He was just getting beat up.
You know the arguments that Trump's going to lodge. He's been lodging them for weeks, on every press conference, in front of every camera, and every rally he can find. Again, I've never prepped a candidate for this, but if you know what the other person's going to say, you should have some type of response to come back and nail them. And maybe he did lodge these. Like Jessica said, I don't think he landed many.
He didn't.
I don't think he landed many.
No. The hit wasn't strong.
Sure.
Right.
He responded, but he was just still getting beat up.
Right. I think that it is entirely likely that once a transcript of this debate comes out and you can kind of go point for point, they were evenly matched, and Biden probably did much better in terms of being on topic and responding truthfully. but the performance was not great. And I think that they're over 90 minutes in that format, you need to hold an audience's attention.
This wasn't there.
And it was not there.
And we all know that in the television era, it has been so important how you look and how you sound. I would argue that now in the internet and social media era, it's more important than ever, and you have to do it the entire time. You can't have even that 6-second gaffe in the middle of 90 minutes, because that is what's going to be clipped and played until people can't stand it anymore.
Yeah. Here's the last thing that I would ask. How does ABC, what does ABC do differently in the next debate in September?
Talk about the future.
I wouldn't have that. I wouldn't have that. I think
You wouldn't have that?
No. I don't know, but I think that made it was
Hard to watch?
Well, and it added to
Harder
the
to watch.
boring, because you didn't have Trump going crazy, and you didn't have. I think it added to it being more boring. I think the format it helped.
You want a brawl, don't
Well,
you, Bernadine?
well,
You just
no,
want
no,
to
no.
see an all-out brawl.
Listen, you know what? And it helped us because we were able to listen
we
and
do.
all of that. But I think that you brought up earlier that Trump's people like to see him going at it. He couldn't, because he uses the words that he was not able to do. And now I liked it when they were going after each other.
Jessica, what do you think ABC does differently? Anything?
You know what, I think that I don't mind the muting, I will say. And maybe it's just the former high school teacher in me, but I'm like, they were not interrupting each other for 90 full minutes. That's amazing. So I'm okay with it. But I do think that we would benefit from sort of like a culling of the topic areas.
Yeah.
Because 90 minutes sounds like a long time. It is not a long time, and it is especially not a long time if you are talking about everything from abortion to January 6th to like everything that they just, immigration, Israel, Palestine. There's so much breadth in what we heard about tonight, and the end result of that is that when you get your 2 minutes, you got to pack in everything you think about Israel and Palestine into 2 minutes, and that's insane. And so, and I also think that it means that their answers are not very robust, and you don't get a lot of specifics out of them. And so I think, we only have 2 debates, so I'm not honestly sure how ABC deals with that. But I would like to see sort of more a narrower scope of topics, and I don't know, given how few debates we have, how you narrow that down, but I think it would result in a more interesting discussion.
My takeaway from it is going into this, I thought, how useful are debates anymore? Were they ever useful? But how useful are they anymore? And I think after this one tonight, and this has been building, one after the other, where I just think they're just not. I mean, the temperament of these two guys, the age of these two guys, the idiosyncrasies of these two guys, the record of these two guys, they can't stand each other. It didn't give me anything that I didn't already have. And in the end, I have to watch it because it's my job, but I just think, and I'm an involved member of the electorate, I'm not a low information voter. And maybe that's why. Maybe because I keep up with what's going on, I don't need to watch this. It's a show.
So you think they
and
ought
it's
not
kind of
to
a bad
have
show.
one. So you think they ought not to have one?
I think it's, for me, and I'm just talking about for me, it feels like it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time and it's a waste of energy. And I walk away at the end of the night thinking, that went pretty much like I thought it would.
About what you thought it was going to go, yeah.
What about you?
I think we've hit all the topics. These guys are going to change their mind on the topics. You got to look to the future. But again, what more are you going to get out of this in the future?
You're not.
What more that you haven't heard from Biden or Trump that you're going to get out of them? And I don't know the time parameters for the next one. If it's 90 minutes long, I thought 90 minutes for these guys and these topics was too long.
Yeah, too much.
And then I think that it's tough for moderators, but you've got to nail down positions on some of these guys. Now, not that they have to stick to their positions at all.
Yeah.
But I think that helps people when they go into the voting booth.
Yeah. One last thing for the ABC debate, if it happens, which Bernadine doesn't think it's going to happen in September, one change I would make in the rules is the word golf cannot be said in this debate. My goodness. And I tell you about how I felt like it was just a waste of time. I'm not a golfer. And that part especially, I was just sitting there like, come on, please, somebody make this stop.
people.
Unbelievable. It was
Make it
unbelievable.
stop. And way to connect with the voters out there, you know, especially if somebody's, been struggling or whatever, has real, pressing issues, way to connect, guys.
We're talking about the world on fire right now.
And we're
So
talking
many
about
people tell us all the
golf,
time,
golf
and
and
we're talking about our
handicaps.
handicaps.
We're talking about, the existence of American democracy going forward. Both of these candidates have said, you may not have a democracy or you may not have a country if that guy gets elected. And we're talking about handicaps and golf.
But keep in mind, those are the candidates, and you're going to have the same candidates.
Elections have consequences, Bernadine. Make sure you go vote.
But
I'll
do
let
we
you take us out, Wheeler.
But do we have to sit through it?
We might have to sit through another one of these.
I think it's good. It's just like wishful thinking on your part that there won't be a second one because you don't want to sit through another one.
I think that it would. I don't think that the Biden campaign would put it back out.
Well, we hope that you all haven't felt the same way about this post-debate analysis. Let us know.
I hope there's not another one of these post-debate analyses.
Well, we'll see. We don't know.
That's what they're probably saying.
Daryl, what's the email we always try to give that I can never remember that's the simplest email in the world?
Y'allitics@WFAA.com.
Why can I not remember that? It's like I have a mental block. Y'allitics@WFAA.com. Let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.